now. I don't know. It just feels like I haven't really had time to catch up to like the holidays.
Yeah, I received a couple messages in that sort of time period between Christmas and New Year's Day, and I was like I'm not going to respond to some of these. Yeah, but now that like Jan, what is it, Jan 2nd today?
Yeah.
Uh, now that it's Jan 2nd, and maybe give it a couple, I think as a couple more days pass as well, things will start ramping up again, where everybody's kind of back into work mode. So
It was interesting too. Like the other day on a couple days ago, someone messaged me, like a founder on LinkedIn, and he's like, "Hey, like your something about your parasocial relationships post caught my eye." And he's like, "I'm raising money for this company or whatever, and I want to talk to you. Can I send you my like deck or whatever?" And I wrote him back. But I was just like, I thought that was cool because it reminded me of some of the conversations that we have, like testing these ideas to see like what works in people's brains, to see like what is that trigger to them. So I was like, I'm definitely going to be doubling down on that, and then also like trying out like other ways to like make people like kind of like the same thing as like people don't want a ghost shredder, right? They want someone that's like captures their voice, makes it easier for them to like have ideas and then go about their business, and someone that enhances their own writing essentially. So it's really interesting like finding these things that work and just sort of testing them and experimenting with them.
yeah, actually, yeah. So even these lives we've been doing have been interesting in that way, right? Because when you told me about that parasocial parasocial relationships, was the term?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah, that, you probably remember that I found that to be super interesting, right? So,
yeah.
yeah, things work like that. Once when you get a reaction like that from one person, it tells you, oh, okay, yeah, this is probably like a good topic to explore more. Yeah.
Yeah. There was another study that I was reading last night, and it was another study from the 80s talking about like the richness of media and saying that like the richest form of media would be face to face. The second would be like a video, audio type thing. And then it goes later down all the way to like writing at the end. And I know a lot of people probably on Substack get probably a little like upset when you say that like writing is not as rich as video because like at the end of the day, we all love writing and it pisses people off. So I always try to like walk that. Like that's not my personality to just go try pissing people off or whatever. But it just makes sense because there's more nuance, like, when video comes on, you can see your facial expressions, you can see there's this other thing too that I was reading about called, like, System 1 and System 2, and our brains basically know about, like, whether or not we trust someone, like, right away, and then it hits System 2 after, and then our logic goes and calculates things to make sure that what we're saying is defensible. So I think that that was also interesting.
Yeah, well, yeah, so what just came to mind for me there is that, like, I think we're also talking about the richness as it maybe pertains to, or at least the way I'm thinking about it is, it's especially if you're trying to build trust and rapport, then it's like the richer media, right?
Yeah.
Or you said medium, right?
Medium or media, I guess
Yeah,
either one would work, yeah.
yeah. Um, so, but if you, I was just thinking to myself, there's a reason also on the flip side of things why like fiction novels, for example, are popular, and it's because they they allow you to fill in the gaps, right,
Mhm.
with your own imagination, which is why people, uh, especially when it comes to fiction, why part of the reason why people like reading in the first place is that it 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 can give you a description, but everybody's going to see that description a little bit differently, right? It can paint that world for you, but
Yeah.
then you're gonna fill in the gaps in your mind, and there's no two people on the planet who are gonna see the exact same thing in their mind, and that's kind of cool too. So it's like, yeah, if you're just trying to like build trust and rapport in the fastest, most like immersive way possible, then yeah, like a face-to-face conversation or like a video would be that. But yeah, I'm actually wearing gloves too, Blair.
Yeah. So what you're
Anyway,
talking about is different. It's like building a world almost and allowing people to go live in that container And I think that's like a piece that's like a work of art, I think, like that's something like that's kind of like a different that's like beyond like social media writing. That's like almost like just like pro writer writing.
Yeah, so I'm saying that, yeah, like the actual by having that gap where, because if you create a movie, for example, everybody's going to see the same thing on the screen, pretty much, right?
Right.
Versus the novel where they're going to fill in their own version of it, which is kind of the cool thing about like a fictional novel, versus, you know, even if it was like a something technical, like a sales book, right? Which is more like nonfiction and that kind of thing, where you're just trying to like educate. There'd still be a lot of people who probably prefer like maybe a video as the ultimate way of like communicating that message. But then I guess it also comes back to what type of learner you are at that point too. So
It re it kind of actually reminded me it's kind of a random connection, but this morning I actually listened to there's a band called Explosions in the Sky, and they're like a I don't know, 6, 7-piece, like, band from Austin, Texas, and they're all instrumental. They're, like, in a lot of, like, movie scores and things, but they have this song called Your Hand in Mind, and it's, like, an 8-minute, like, epic song. It's all instrumental, but it, like, has, like, a story in it almost where, like, parts of it feels like you're going to, like, war at one moment, and then they have, like, these, like, marching style drums and, like, this, like, layered guitars, but a lot of the times it's just, like, one idea and then subtle differences and, like, different ideas that kind of, like but I let it kinda just, like, wash over me this morning as I was waking up, and I kinda had this other idea too of, like, "Alright, like, I'm gonna try to start my days like this now from now on, like, listen to the song, like, 3 or 4 times and just, like, allow my, like, breath just to do its thing and allow like, my brain, 'cause I used to tend to, like, wake myself up and just go drink coffee and, like, go straight to work or whatever, and it's, like, kinda like one of those things where I realized that it was, like, no if you look at all the, like, the great copywriters of the world, they all, like, talked about, like, the incubation of, like, ideas and thoughts and, like, walking and
mm,
things like this. So, like, I'm trying to, like, incorporate, like, this breath work kinda thing going on so that, like, I'm ready for the day, but then also a little bit of walking, taking care of myself, and then kind of, like, pushing myself.
yeah, I was actually saying to someone yesterday that the morning routines are actually so key. Like, and I mean, I almost wish that wasn't true, right? Because, but it just is. Like, we could all start our day where it's like you wake up, you immediately grab your phone, and I mean, just about the worst thing you could possibly do is you grab it and you immediately go to social media, whether it be LinkedIn, Substack, Instagram, Twitter. Twitter's probably the worst, but you you go to one of those social media platforms, you just start scrolling in bed. Okay, that's probably the worst way to start your day. Uh, Second worst would be that you actually get up and you're standing, moving around and scrolling your phone. But then if you want to talk about like a really good start to your day, it would probably be like waking up, immediately throwing on some clothes and just getting outside and going for a walk or something like this before you
Right.
even have coffee, before you do anything. But we all fall into like we can all fall into these bad patterns of like or routines of just waking up, scrolling the phone in the morning. And honestly, that's what I've been doing for the last like month or so. It's not good.
Yeah.
I've done
It's
I've done the complete opposite too, where I've like woken up, immediately got outside, maybe a 45-minute walk or something like this, and that is so
that
much better for everything.
Oh, yeah. That's what I used to do. That was my routine, like, walk, like, 5,000, 10,000 steps. If I can get, like, 10,000 in first thing in the morning, because that would be the goal for the entire day, but if I could knock it out, like, first thing in the morning, that would be, like, ideal. And then the other thing that I stopped drinking coffee for a while, but then I realized that, like, if I drink coffee, like, right when I wake up, it would like, your cortisol levels are already high, so it's kind of spiked already. But if you wait, like, 60 to 90 minutes later, it's not as high, so then the caffeine doesn't hit me as bad. It's an interesting thing, like, I'm always toying with these different things, and I'm also taking L-theanine, like, as a supplement, ashwagandha, I take, um, magnesium glycinate, just things like that to help, like, my body and recovery and things like that. I don't know if, like, you take any supplements at all.
These days,
What
no. These days, no. Uh, Magnesium. Oh yeah, magnesium's amazing for sleep. Can definitely vouch for that. When I have taken it, yeah,
Yeah, their L-theanine's interesting. Might be worth checking out. It's like a compound in green tea, and it's what makes you feel like you're focused, but it's only that focus feeling. And I take it like a couple hundred milligrams of that in the morning, and it's good for your brain too. So like it's like $20 too. It's not very expensive. But yeah, it's crazy how like when we started this call, we had mentioned like how quickly like the year caught up to us, and like I kind of feel like I'm not like in full execution mode yet. I feel like I'm getting there, but like my brain's still like processing getting I mean I'm ready to go, but I'm like not I haven't like hit the ground running quite yet. I did do a couple like DMs, like I pitched a couple people, like one person from like Y Combinator that was like in the freight space. I was just like, hey dude, I don't know any people in the freight space that got into Y Combinator because that's like the Harvard of like incubators. And I pitched him. I don't know if he hadn't written back yet, but like I'm trying to get like more strategic too with who I'm pitching as I'm seeing them. I obviously like to time block my shit, but sometimes I'm just like, fuck, that guy like looks like someone that I'd want to work with. So it's like fuck it. Just sent the message right then.
nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had a day, maybe about 4 or 5 days ago, where I did start sending some DMs just to kind of get back into the swing of things a little bit because yeah, it's not the most we've spoken about this before. It's definitely not the most enjoyable thing in the world sending LinkedIn DMs, you know.
No.
Even Kelsey Schaefer probably doesn't enjoy it.
No, and
And
she's good at sales too. I've seen some of her sales lectures. So like I mean, yeah, it's no fun.
yeah, it takes a second to get into it. Like even your body is even resistant to sending LinkedIn DMs. That's how bad it is.
Yeah.
It's just not the most, yeah, it's not the most like comfortable thing in the world, cold DMing people. But when you're in the habit of doing it, then it's like it's just something that you do, right?
I've
So
gotten I've gotten messages too from people in Growth Ghosts about like how I think about DMs. And one of the time I think that the thing that helped me, I think I've talked about it before, but like there's a guy named Mo Choice that like
mm,
I remember like at one time like I had a really bad taste in my mouth for like pitch slapping. I thought it was super fucking annoying. And it is annoying if it's done wrong. And it is there's obviously different nuances to everything, but what he told me basically is that I was hating the pitcher, right? If I'm hating the people that are pitch slapping me, I'm gonna only hate myself. And it's not fair for me to be in this system if I'm like hating on the system when I'm in the system, essentially is like the key thought. And when I stopped hating people that were pitching me, it allowed me to be like, fuck it. I don't really care if I pitch this person. And it also like we still talk about this before too. It's just like get to the fucking point. Like no one wants to hear or no one wants to get greased up and then all of a sudden on the fifth message be like, oh, you know, that was all for fucking fluff. I don't really give a fuck about you. Like, are you free Tuesday or Wednesday to check out my product or whatever? So I don't know. Like, I always like, I'd rather just rip the band-aid off and just go for the kill. Other people will argue against it. I know that there's some people in Growth Ghost that say like, be magnetic or whatever, or like do this or be like, just be like add value, so much value given away that like to the point where that you never then they like I don't know. I always hear all this shit, but it never works.
I think there's I think there's well, there's that phrase, there's many ways to skin a cat.
Yeah,
Um but yeah,
sure.
I think there's a lot of things that work, honestly. Cause I've got this guy DMing me right now on LinkedIn. Now he's actually one of the he's basically a coach who teaches this stuff. Um, but he's he probably is right now working his way to like pitching a call to me at some point. And I know that, but I'm also not the most like I'm not very uh rigid or whatever or against DMs. Like I have no problem with somebody trying to sell to me, right? It doesn't unless they're just like absolutely brutal at it. And usually being brutal at it actually just means that you're kind of being like disrespectful. because they're doing some of the things that they were taught in a course that are just actually just blatantly disrespectful,
Yeah.
and they're not realizing why it's just so uncalibrated, and why, or thinking about how the prospect feels on the other side of that DM. For
Yeah.
example, one of them is I've I've received so many DMs from people where they don't capitalize my first name because they've been told in a course or a coaching program, somebody's teaching this coaching program, don't capitalize the person's name because then it will feel more like that it's not just a copy paste script. It will feel like it's more like off the cuff if you just don't capitalize their name. Well, for me, it's like not capitalizing my name is extremely disrespectful. I'm never doing business with you if you don't
Right.
capitalize my name. And there's
Right.
even a dude, there's another dude on LinkedIn who's got like, I swear, like at least 40,000 followers. And he DM'd me that exact way where he didn't capitalize my name. And he's following up, right? Trying to like use the rapport angle. Oh man, were you in Medellin? Da 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 da. This and that. It's like I'm just blatantly ignoring him, all because he didn't capitalize my name. Now, are there other people who wouldn't care about something like that? Sure. Yeah, there's a lot of like more like lenient, complacent people, right? But for me, it's like, nah, man, that's so
Or
unprofessional. And I know that you did that on purpose, just as a tactic, right? So
even
yeah,
more
people.
sleazy when you know it's a tactic almost.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But the other guy who's messaging me right now, he's doing more of that kind of like slow burn, like asking me like specific questions in relation to my business. Like, are you just focusing on LinkedIn? Like, what kind of like clients do you help? This and that. And we're just having a conversation. He also like started by just asking me a question kind of about what I thought about like say sending connection requests on LinkedIn. Almost as if like he was trying to just get my insight on it. And maybe we are just having a conversation. I'm not sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if in like, 5 to 10 messages from now, it is like, "Oh, well, how's lead generation going?" and that kind of
Right.
thing, right?
Well, I like that you said that you don't mind that people pitch you. So I think that that's cool because it just makes you like I don't. It allows you to be like better at sales when you're doing it because you're not having these like weird thoughts in your head like I was having like oh how dare people pitch me and I'm going over there and pitching them or whatever. So I think that that part of it makes a lot of sense. Like you're being, I think being open to it. I am open to it too. Like sometimes I am curious to see what people are going to say and how they say it. One thing I'll notice too is if they make like a spelling error or like spell my name. I've even had people spell my name wrong. Like how the fuck did you do that? Like you just like that lazy or like that less. I mean, because if you're writing for a living or doing something, you have to have some level of attention to detail, right?
How wrong did they spell your name?
Like instead of like Jeremy, they'd like miss an E or call me like Jeremy or something like Jermey. I mean, it's like off or Jamie. I mean, like not even the
Oh, yeah.
same fucking name. Like
Yeah,
just like
yeah.
kind of close. Like maybe they glanced at it and they're like, "Oh, Jamie, cool."
So that, believe it or not, that's another tactic though, not maybe just doing a typo, but there's another tactic where they'll just call you by another name. Like I've had somebody DM me and be like, "Hey, Gavin," like blah blah blah. The idea being there that you're at least going to respond and say, "My name's not Gavin." Like, and now you're in conversation, right? Some of these, see, man, Gen, I've. hmm, I'm going to make just a huge sweeping generalization, but actually, I'll say it in a different way. Some of these like money Twitter kids are just like, I don't know, they just eat up the tactics and stuff that they're learning from. And let's actually look at the real culprit. Who is teaching these programs, telling people, yeah, don't capitalize the guy's name, bro. Yeah, call him by another name, bro. It's like, yeah, you might get a response, but not every response is a good one. Okay. Like if I
Right.
respond and tell you, dude, why aren't you capitalizing my name? Why did you just call me Gavin? This is not a good response. This is not going to lead towards a sale, you know?
Yeah. I always try to do like 5 minutes. I'll spend like 3 minutes on their site And like for me, I'm usually looking, do they have videos, yes or no, and do they have an audience? I'm like, if they have 10,000 people but no video, I'm like, clearly there's a psychological problem there why they're not posting it, unless they're somewhere else that I don't know about, right? So for me, I'm just like, I noticed that you have 10,000 people in your audience, so it's specific, and I like what you did here and here, but I noticed that you have no video. Why? Something like that, like that could be
Oh,
like something as simple as that. And a lot of the times, I think that people will be like pretty open. Oh yeah, I've been wanting to do that, but I just haven't had the time, or I've like there I think that video has more psychological barriers than text only, just because like people don't want to look like an asshole and have it be on tape and then like repeated and thrown back in their face. But in reality, no one gives a shit and no one's really watching that closely. But in people's minds that are like myself that have anxiety, I'll catastrophize something into this event in my mind that never ever happens.
I just want to go back to your like opening message there. I like that, man. So you go to their account, and I mean it's probably so. I mean, it's not like rocket science or anything like that, right? But it's like,
Yes.
man, that seems like it would be really effective. It's just like immediately looking for that sort of gap
Yeah.
where your service like fills that gap. It's like so you'd start kind of with a bit of like a it's almost like a compliment, right?
Yeah.
But it's not like too over the top, which can be actually a detriment. It's like, I noticed you guys have this like, really big brand with XYZ company or whatever.
Right.
And you're posting frequently. I'm just wondering, is there a reason why you're not doing video? Is it
Yeah.
something like that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, and a lot of the
Yeah.
times too, I think my pitch is like, "Hey, I'll do a free video with you on the call," right? So I'll map out the video on the call, be like, "Hey, who's your audience? Who's your ICP? What does this video look like?" We'd want it to have like a hook, some sort of story arc if we can, and then be like, "All right, do you have anything in mind or whatever?" And then I'll just kind of pick their brain. Oh, I have this one thing where I lost the sale because of XYZ or whatever. So I'll just try to figure it out like live on the call. But then as I onboard the client, I basically do that creative brief with Dakota and pick their brain for an hour, then load that into Claude so I could live script with them on the call. And the other problem that I'm solving essentially is that people get nervous because they're talking to the camera. Whereas like because I'm a podcaster and you're a podcaster, whatever, we're just asking him a question. But because we're like the story people and we're like the like nuanced creators, like we know what's gonna hit versus them. So we're kind of just like cherry picking these moments and then capturing it in a way that's easier for them.
Yeah, yeah, so there's, like, 2 things going on, and I is that really common? Like, do most of your clients have that sticking point with video when you first meet
Yeah.
them? Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, most people like there's a guy that I was talking to recently that had all these cool things going on in his life. He like read books, he had been a part of some music festival, but he had like no videos. And he's like, "Yeah, like I want videos." I know that it's like a fucking thing now. It's not even like a guess anymore. Like if it's a thing, it is a thing. It's just a matter of like fucking going out there and finding. I think it goes back to like what you were saying, finding the people that afford to pay like premium prices, and then figuring out a way that you can continue to like not burn out, provide enough value for them. And then like I'm starting to lean, like I've been thinking about it, like 6 videos for $1,500 is something I've been kind of thinking about in my brain lately for like a 4 month minimum. Cause that way it'll only take me 2 hours to like I can do 3 videos in an hour. So 2 hours of recording sessions. And then it might take me another hour and a half to like trim it, caption it, and then send it back to them. I wouldn't distribute it, but 4 month minimum would make it so that it would be like a $6,000 minimum contract. And then that way, like, they could walk away or the contract would say basically this thing auto renews in 4 months. And unless you want to cancel, just let me know or whatever, that type of thing. And maybe there's another package above that that's a little bit more expensive. And then a third tier I was thinking about is more of like an intensive boot camp over 3 months where it's more of like I integrate this thing into your system and I'll fuck off, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So like that's kind of like the ideas that I'm toying with, but I'd rather have the recurring revenue. So that's why I'm kind of going back to that other model in my mind of like thinking of more of like a subscription, like a software almost, but like it's a service as a software kind of thing.
Okay. And for that 6 video package, would you charge that upfront, or would you charge that monthly?
I would be prepaid for like the first month, and then like let's just say they started February 1st. I would bill them we would knock out the videos in February, then they get a bill again in March for the next month. Um, and the other things that I was thinking about too is that if you have some of these larger packages, let's just say I come up with some $20,000 package, it's more of like a intensive cohort thing that's more like one-on-one type of thing. Imagine you do something like that and you're like, hey, like I know 20 grand's a lot, but I can give you like 3,000 off if you pay in cash or whatever, or if you pay this bill up front. So I'm starting to think about things like this too, right? Like how do I mess with these terms and play with them in a way that benefits me to some sort of degree and then also like improves. So at the end of the day, like if we can get like cash ramped super fast, then
Yep.
we could be a lot more like we could say no a lot more often without having, because once you've killed enough things and have enough clients, then it's like, all right, like how do I find ones that match what I'm looking for versus like me trying to fit myself into their situation. For example, like this guy that wanted videos recently, he wanted more like motion graphics and like more like complexity in his video. And I'm not really trying to do that, right? I can do that and I might do that later, but it wouldn't be me that's doing that because that's like a motion graphic artist, right? That's not someone that's like just like a basic editor. So like a lot of these videos with like Ali Abdul, like they might be using templates, but a lot of the times, like if you have like a really good motion graphics artist, like they can make that video look a lot different, like a little like it like make it pop with like weird effects and things. And so like I
Yep.
think there's different levels to everything, but I'm not trying to sell that. I'm trying to sell more of like storytelling, narrative short videos that are not really to do with production, but you could, like we've spoken on previous calls too, you could add production in there. Like I have multiple cameras, so I could theoretically go shoot the thing myself and capture it and charge more for that. Or if I had like a team of like videographers, then set it up. So you could tell, like you could, there's all sorts of ways to chop this stuff up to like make more money. But it's like how much risk and how much like that it's all comes down to risk, I think too. Like I don't know, like directing it, like what my buddy did when he was directing something with the whole crew of like two videographers and a sound engineer and like chopping up all this footage. That just seems like more that I'd want to take on
Wow.
something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the interesting thing about like the way that you currently the way you currently focus on the service where it's more about like really good storytelling and finding those real hooks from this person's story, like
Right.
it should always be about that, right? Like
Yeah.
so it's almost kind of like it's almost kind of a pro or a plus with your service right now that it maybe is more just kind of like minimal production in this, not these motion graphics that you're talking about,
Right.
because then one thing for sure, you absolutely must focus on the hook. And that's all
Right.
you're really thinking about, right? So there is kind of something really nice about that it's I'm primarily focused on just like finding the absolute like your absolute best stories and the absolute like best hook for those stories, right? Um, but yeah, even if you do add the whole like motion graphics and all that, like more production, which could be just another upsell within your service. Um, Obviously you still need that focus of that amazing storytelling because
Yeah.
that's the thing that's going to matter more. People don't just care about motion graphics. That's not what's really going to like hook
Yeah.
them.
Some people like that sizzle. It's interesting though too, because I could tell that that guy liked that more than, and that's also kind of like a fit thing, right? Like finding ones that like are really into like the story and the narrative and the arc, and those are the videos that are going to do better anyways. As we all know, like personal stories is the fastest way to like get posted, like pop off. Like I had one last year on LinkedIn where I talked about breaking my jaw and losing my job in the same day, and then like a year later being like a full time creator. That thing had like 70,000 views from like just personal stories just fucking rip like on LinkedIn. But I think that they kind of get boring as a creator to like relive a lot. That's the part that I have trouble with because like I want to like have novelty and do new things and write interesting things, and I get bored talking about the same shit over again. And I know that's like we all have to do it to some sort of degree, but me personally, like in my mind, it's like more like I'm bored. But I also realize that the boring things are what pay the bills.
Yeah, I got better with that one. I got better with that one of like telling similar or telling the same story but in different ways. Um I've actually taken more of an interest. It's like I've taken more of an interest in my own life. I've taken more of an interest in like, and also connecting the dots of like why something was so important. Like even getting, getting into online business for the first time back around when I was like, I don't know, 29 or 30. Um, or even like maybe the first time it ever got on my radar was like at like 27, right? Because it was so new back then. Like the only people you'd hear about doing online business were like Ty Lopez, Tim Ferriss, Gary Vaynerchuk, and Frank Kern. So it was such a new world, right? Um, but yeah, like you go back to something like that and how you tried like affiliate marketing, drop shipping, forex trading, an MLM, like network marketing, and all these things within this like short period of time in this, but you realize that that is actually a very key part of your story. And I wouldn't even be here today if I didn't do that, right? And like, fumble my way through that and like make $250 overnight from the affiliate marketing thing, lose 4,000 from forex trading, make no money with the MLM, uh break even on the drop shipping, start a generic social media marketing agency with my buddy who was my roommate at the time, and book one in-person sales meeting where the guy almost closed, but then an email afterwards was like, "Oh, but can you send over some like results that you've gotten for clients or whatever?" It's like, uh, oh yeah. Then we just had no idea what to do at that point because it's like, well, we haven't worked with anybody. So, and we didn't say that. I don't know what we actually did. I don't know if we even got back to him. That's how bad it was. We probably should have just been honest and been like, hey, got to be honest with you, you would be our first client here, but I don't know. We'll put in that work for you, man. Yeah, yeah.
Kelsey says it's fun romanticizing the fuck out of your life and then turning it into content. I agree with that. And like I think that the reason I really love hanging out with all you guys and gals is because like there's a certain level of energy that you guys are operating at, especially you, Mike, like that you're not thinking so much, you're just executing and owning it and not overthinking, just going for it. And I always bring it back to like snowboarding. It reminds me of hanging out with my snowboarder friends. Like I thought about this morning. Like there's this one time where me and my friend were riding Mammoth in the main park, and there's this big like 55-foot jump that was really poppy. And me and my friend were like looking at each other and like we're like, we ready to hit this thing or what? And I was fucking terrified. Like it was like freezing ass cold. I don't know, like 30 degrees outside in the morning. This jump could fucking easily kill you. And like he goes, like, does his thing, does his fucking trick over it. And I point at this thing, like take like two turns and then hop like a big ass cork back five off of this thing and like parachute out of this fucking thing. And I'm like, oh my fucking God. But afterwards, like you feel so alive. Cause like you're like, all right, like if I could just do that right there, I didn't die. I could have died, but like I didn't die in that moment. And like that, but it really reminds me of the energy though, the way like the mindset of these athletes and the mindset of like the top creators, they're not sitting there thinking like, oh, I'm worried that I'm repeating myself and then my story sounds fucking weird or like that I sound this way. They're just fucking owning it and just going like Dakota's like a good example of it. He doesn't give a fuck. Like there was like a thing that I saw of him the other day with his fiance where he's wearing like a leather vest and he had like a little a little microphone thing and he was like had like a whip. I'm just like he doesn't not give a fuck. Like he,
I saw that. I saw that. Yeah.
yeah, so I'm just like, he's just having a lot of fun. And I feel like there's something to be said about like having fun and not taking ourselves too seriously, but just still like making it happen.
Oh, totally, totally. I would say that if you're not having fun with it, you're probably doing it wrong. Because well, no, you're definitely doing it wrong because energy is transferable, right? So even if you're just writing a Substack note, like the way that you feel when writing it, which even just comes down to like the way that you arrange the words, uh, gets transferred, right? So, uh, which also kind of is one of the downsides even of AI. Now, I'm not just gonna like bash AI here because I mean I do use it, right? But it comes down to it comes back to the importance of making sure that like you actually go through and like read your stuff aloud, right? Like or out loud. Make sure it actually sounds like you. Make sure it sounds the way that you'd actually say that if you were just speaking to a friend. because that's where that energy comes from, right? Because and that's why the whole like speaking to a friend thing is powerful, because look at the energy transfer when you're just speaking to a friend versus if you're like uptight, like in some like job interview or something like this. Think about that energy, that job interview energy, unless you're just like the most gregarious person on earth, right?
Yeah.
But if just think about a really nervous person in a job interview and how they're just like, answer the question and like, but maybe there's not a lot of soul in it versus how do they act when they're just, having a beer with a friend and their friend asks them about like, hey, remember that time, da 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 da. Tell me that story again, or like, where were you when that happened, or what? And then they go into it, and they're like so animated and all that, right? So that's why the whole like,
I was to say that's such good advice speaking to a friend because like a lot of the times like I've been around people that I've interviewed a lot of people that it was our first podcast and a lot of them were like oh fuck like they were like making it so much bigger in their heads and I get why because like they don't want to like document something and like look stupid or they just don't understand how it's going to work quite yet in their minds. So I think that's a really good tip too for like if you're helping someone out with a video or a podcast for the first time, just being like dude just pretend like you're talking to a friend at a bar like don't worry about it like it's just a conversation and even like a live video, right? People can overcomplicate lives and be oh, what if I say something and fucking have a panic attack on the air, and then Mike sees my like how retarded I am.
well, yeah, I mean, we didn't even we probably shouldn't expose this. No, but I don't care. We didn't even have a plan for today's call.
Yeah,
We just hopped on. And it's interesting because now it became this whole conversation on basically sort of that like, I don't know, shoot first, ask questions later approach to content creation, like just being a little like off the cuff, a little more raw, and kind of like what's the worst that can happen, really? I mean, if you think about like written content, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Just you have a typo, or you put out kind of like a stupid idea that you didn't put enough thought into, and you realize afterwards, or somebody then tries to like back you into a corner about like about like, oh, that's not even like logically correct or something, or like, where did you get this data from, or when you said that 99% of creators are afraid to hit post or something, is that an actual statistic? I don't know. Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? Worst that's going to happen is probably you get some troll in the comments or something who's having a miserable day and trying to call you out just to feel better about themselves. But
yeah. I that rarely happens. I'll occasionally have someone that like wants to start shit with me, but a lot of the times I'll just ignore them. But it's a weird. It's like I would say it's like one like maybe like a half of a percent of people try to do that. I don't know if it's the same in your experience or if you have it more. Maybe you're ruffling more feathers than I am.
when I do tick people off with a post, I can really do it, and then you can get like a lot of people coming out. Um, but that's when you go for the more like bold takes, right? Like when you go for the open to work badge is making you look desperate on LinkedIn, right? I had some hook. It was like that where I just decided to attack. Woke up and chose violence and went for the open to work badge, right? But yeah, so there's stuff like that where you know ahead of time, like, yeah, I'm gonna like ruffle some feathers here, right? But
I actually think that's a
but
good
yeah.
one because the open to work one, it seems like from the positioning standpoint of someone looking for a job, it positions you in such a way that you look desperate to some sort of degree because it's like almost like it's sad, but that we're humans are very psychological, so we have to play with every piece of psychology we can to make the situation and optics look a certain way. It's almost like the same thing with dating. Like no one wants. It's sad, but no one wants like someone that's not wanted by other people. As soon as you're wanted by like one other person, it makes it so that the attraction level goes through like the roof for whatever reason, because then it becomes a lot like you're more scarce for whatever reason. It's sad the way that we think, but I think that that's just the way you got to play the game. Like in if having that open to work badge is making it so that you look like you're not valuable, then it needs, and it also probably affects your self esteem too, because then you're kind of like, just like hopping into anything you can get versus being strategic about like. So it's definitely there's some mindset things in that as well. So that's probably why it triggered people.
Yeah. Yeah, and it definitely did. It definitely did. But it got a ton of it got a ton of views, got a ton of reactions, ton of comments from both sides, right? From the people with the open to work badges, from recruiters too, from
Oh, really?
recruiters, from people agreeing with me, uh some of the people agreeing with me being entrepreneurs and stuff, right? Because I didn't just say that the open to work badge makes you look desperate and just have it be like some opinion piece. I then like, you know, not halfway, quarter of the way through or whatever, then flipped it of like, here's what you could do instead, sort of thing. And I basically like took almost like the approach of like, if somebody who was looking for a job treated LinkedIn the same way, to even like a tenth of the degree that like the a good creator on LinkedIn approaches LinkedIn with like, maybe started posting about what they are looking for, upgrade their whole about section, and have more of that approach where they're just talking about the type of role that they would like to get. But from a place of like empowerment, not desperation. And then also they could talk about their history, and they could talk about their history almost like in more of a storytelling way, right?
Right.
That, like, I feel like that would be massively effective. And I think there are people doing that now. But
Yeah,
there's
I
also
think.
the flip side. And I actually saw something the other day. I got to tell you this. Like, I saw a guy with the open to work badge, and this chick I follow on LinkedIn had reposted his post, and oh no, this girl had commented saying, "I'm commenting for the algo" or something like this, and people apparently screenshotted that, and it went viral because a lot of people were saying that she was being sort of like insensitive or something by saying I'm commenting for the algo. Like they were trying to play it like, oh, like look at you, like the influencer, like commenting for the algo, like as if you're such a big shot or whatever, right?
Sure.
Like helping this poor guy out who had the open to work badge, and you would not believe what he said in that caption. Here's what he said. He's like, well, it's finally got to that point, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's like, I'm now homeless or something, or like
Yeah.
talking about how like this is brutal, right? Like, but like homeless or something, or been looking for a job for like this long, blah blah blah, and just like total. Now, like, don't get me wrong, that's absolutely brutal, right? But
Yeah.
now he's just going full victim mode, right? Full victim mode with the open to work badge. So, as brutal as it is, I was onto something there. Is that like, because that just sounds like a downward spiral. It's like day one, I set myself up with the open to work badge. Day two, I put out my first victim mentality post. Day 150, I'm now homeless. Um,
Yeah, it's terrible.
but I had
I
some
agree with
chick
you.
share me, and I got 100,000 views on that post. So yeah, but like the job market is absolutely brutal. I'm not a part of it, so um, well, not in the
Traditional sense.
yeah, not in the traditional sense. We're all a part of it.
Yeah. What about, I mean, it seems to like what I've noticed from being an entrepreneur is that a lot of the work that we do today, it's like you're not really rewarded. Like you have to think long term and do work today and know that it's going to work out for you somehow in the future. Whereas I think the employee mindset's more like I come in, do my hours, and leave. Like we're kind of trying to think a little bit more strategically about, and we know that like our inputs are going to lag behind our like stuff that we do today, and for like the next month, these lives are going to benefit us probably in a couple months from now. Who knows what's going to happen? But I just know if you do the work and you're producing a certain level of quality work, like good shit will happen. But obviously, there is a little bit of like you still have to. I think that for me personally, I had to do a lot more sales than I would have thought. I would have thought it would be a lot easier. Like once you build a brand to like 9,000, 10,000, that like you could just fucking like not do anything and just make money out of your ass or whatever. But it's not the case. You still got to work. You still got to like reach out to people and ask for the business.
It's all man, it's all it's all sales, man. Like, for what both of us do. Like,
Yeah.
and if the majority of what you're doing is sales, you're probably in a good place, or you're about to be in a good place because um I think there's very few people who could get by without any sales or any salesmanship, you know? They might have they might have some short-lived success where, like say a ghostwriter, for example, where they're just a good ghostwriter and people find them and maybe they get some referrals or that kind of thing. But like eventually they're probably going to hit a point where, okay, the referrals dry up a little bit. They don't have as much business as they'd like. Right. And it's you can get to a pretty nice place as like a one person business where you're not like that focused on sales because you just get like some inbound leads and you get some referrals. And so I'd say it's actually pretty easy to get to like, well, it's you can get to like 5 to maybe 10K a month solopreneur without doing a ton of sales if you're like really good at your craft, right? But if you wanted to ever like scale beyond that, you're gonna have to get good at the sales and have more of a lead generation type approach and that kind of thing, and follow up with people and all that, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I I think to some sort of degree, people have it maybe sold in their mind. Like there's this like fantasy. I think that like if you build an audience, that you won't have to like sell anymore. I think that is like a maybe like a myth that some people think like you build the audience and it'll come type of thing. And you see it all the time because you'll see people that have massive followings but are not business minded and have like probably don't make any money, right? Or and then there's people that have like like right now we have under like not very many followers, or I have like under 100 followers on Substack. You have under 200, and right now, like, but at the same time, that's no reflection of how much money you're making. So, like, you can't really tell because, like, or it's kind of nuanced, I suppose.
yeah, yeah, the follower count thing, yeah, just having a massive audience certainly is not. It's not just as easy as like, oh, if you just have a massive audience, everyone's just going to fall in line for you and want to work with you necessarily. Um, it does help. It helps also from a social proof angle,
Yeah,
but yeah, certainly if people have some myth of like, I'm just going to grow a big following and then coast,
yeah.
like, no. Like even somebody with an audience size like of like Dakotas, right? It's not like those guys can just completely coast when it comes to lead generation for growth ghost, right? Like they have to they have to find ways of reaching people, um, you know, uh, yeah, different like lead sources and all that, right? And they have to continually pump out content, all that, right? So, and I think there's been times they do DMs and all that too. So, yeah.
I think the audience, what it helps with, I feel like it accelerates. It makes it so that people consume your content. Like, let's just say they've watched 10 hours of your content or read a bunch of your newsletters, that it has that like feeling that they know you more than they do, so that they understand the way you think, so that when they are ready to buy, it's not like you're sitting there convincing them. It's kind of like, all right, like how can we work together? And like I'm already sold. Like now, like what are like the details on like making this happen? And I think that that's what good content does. It makes it so that like I'm starting to realize that with newsletters too. Like I was writing a newsletter on my video ghost process, like what I actually do, so that people know what I actually do. And
Mm.
that would be like more like a sales letter that, not like one out of every 5 or 6 or something, like actually like more like sales. Like, and I think that that stuff, it's good because that way, if someone does see it, even if it gets low views, but if one person sees it and then that helps to convert them, then it was worth it. So I think that that part of
Great.
it is the way to think about it.
So when are you putting out that newsletter?
Probably today. I wrote it already. So yeah.
Yeah, because yeah, because I want to see that too. I want to see the way that you would explain that as well. Obviously, I have a pretty good idea of what you do, but I think
Yeah.
could always could always be better. Oh, another thing about the big following is that like what it does also give you is it does give you a massive list of people. I'm kind of thinking like LinkedIn specifically here, but it applies to most social media platforms. Is that it gives you a massive list of people that you can reach out to, right? Of course,
Mhm.
not everybody in your following is going to be your ideal client.
Right.
Far from it, right? For most people, but yeah, like the list of people that I could reach out to is massive. Like it's almost kind of like it's almost daunting, like how many people I could actually follow up with or reach out to. So it gives you like it like if even if like so let's say a bunch of people say no, right? Well, with when you got this long list, that's actually a great thing because it's like, well, let's go through this and see how many people I can get to say no, right? Because then you're probably going to get to a yes uh,
Yeah.
pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's interesting too because I feel like you could probably get really strategic about like who you target. Like maybe it's like seven-figure agencies or like founder. I think that there's ways of making it so that list narrows down essentially by like finding the ones that are like a super fit for you. But I don't know what that looks like for you specifically. But probably people I'm assuming in the U.S., Western nations, maybe people that have disposable income probably making like good money, right? Like they're not going to hire. I think I read a post once that you wrote that said like most people aren't going to hire a ghostwriter unless they're hitting like 20,000 a month or something like that. I think you said something along those lines.
Yeah, actually I may have. Yeah, that does sound like something I definitely have said, or I might have said it in a comment as well. But I think, yeah, I think that yeah, if a person's doing not everybody needs a ghostwriter, basically, right? Like, um, the a ghostwriter is really for somebody who is like who understands the importance of a personal brand, but definitely doesn't have time to do it themselves, right?
Yep.
So if somebody is like an agency owner making, say, $10,000 a month or $15,000 a month, they they probably shouldn't have a ghostwriter unless they yeah, unless they find a kind of like a more budget option that maybe like $1,000 a month. Maybe then they could justify it, but like you can't be you can't be at $10,000 a month. You can't have a third of your business's revenue going towards some sort of like vendor, right? Like so yeah. Um yeah. But I like some of my best clients for me personally have been like agency owners and sort of like consultants, um, coaches, consultants. It's not just about money, believe it or not. It's also sometimes just about who you get along with the most. And some of the people I've gotten along with the most and had the best relationships with, who've also maybe stayed the longest as well. Because that's really where you also make the most money as well, is from LTV, right?
Yeah.
Like you look in Stripe or something, and it's like, wow, that client who was with me for like a year and a half, it's like that's where the bulk of my money came from, right? So yeah, like that's definitely something to also factor in is like who do you actually like working with? Who can you write the best content for, get the best results for, that kind of thing. Yeah.
And the ones that worked out that ended up being pretty good clients, it was a pretty smooth sailing. Like it was pretty frictionless, and you just knew that it was going to happen. Or like, is there any patterns there as far as like your best clients? And like, it seemed like some of them were referrals too. Like the one in Medellin with the 4K, like in the cafe, that was a referral. And those are always the best, right? Because they're like pre-sold, and then all you have to do is kind of just like I guess he wanted more writing samples, and then you closed him on the call by reading one of your posts, which I thought was like really cool. Because a lot of people I think wouldn't have thought to do that. Like they would have like given up and stopped like the momentum, and you kind of just flipped it and like made it happen. Which I think is that's why it's because like you're good at sales, and I think you're able to capture more opportunity than people that are not good at sales. Because not everyone's good at sales.
So man, you remember that story well. Uh, you remember that it was a referral. You remember the whole LinkedIn post thing. So I guess you either read that newsletter or something. But
I did read it. It was a good one. I really enjoyed it. I actually I read it to my dad. I enjoyed it. I sent it to a friend that like didn't understand about ghostwriting. So yeah, I thought it was a cool newsletter. So you had some dark
oh, cool.
social things going on there in the background. My friend was like looking was asking how people in ghostwriting make money, and I was like, how do people in ghostwriting make money? And he like, here you go. Because some people like my buddies that are like not in the creator economy think that some of this shit's like I don't think that they think it's a scam, but they're like they don't like necessarily believe that you can make money like outside of like the working
Mm.
world for some reason. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know what they think, but
Yeah, that's pretty common. A lot of people do think that like yeah, a lot of people have like serious doubt when it comes to just making money online and all that. See you, Kelsey.
that comes.
Yeah. Um, yeah, yeah. No, they do. Even like even people who want to believe that it's true have their doubts. There's a guy who joined Growth Ghost who is a now a close friend of mine, and I met him in like Medellin. I've met him in Medellin like twice now actually, and his name is Anselmo. And when he came into the program, he he had like probably he probably watched like my case study video with Dakota, the interview and this, and he had gathered that I'm a person in the program who had had success and that kind of thing. And like he reached out to me and like he did it the right way. Like where he started by, you know, kind of complimenting me on what I'd achieved and all this and then he's like, I got one question for you, Mike, or something. But he's just like, is all of this like really possible? And he was talking about just like making money online, the whole ghostwriting thing. Is all this really possible? Anyway, his one question turned into us being like very good friends. Next thing was like, you know, hopping on. I sent him some voice clips on, you know, to answer that question: is this really possible? And then we were hopping on Zoom calls. Then I introduced him to Gage, and the three of us hopped on Zoom calls. And yeah, then ended up meeting him in Medellin. And yeah, now we're just trying to get Gage to also come down to South America. Um,
It's so interesting because you're saying I think that comes up in people's heads too. It's a good reminder, like because even though it's you made it happen, and they could see clearly you did it, right? You had good results. You're making the 20K or whatever, and he's like, "Is it possible for me though?" Like that's the question that he has in his brain. So it's a good reminder, like even though like we make it possible, making it seem like it, when we're writing to people or selling that, hey, this is possible for you. Like even like a fucking moron can get it done, or like like however we have to say it or whatever, not saying that anyone else, you know what I mean? Like it's
yeah.
basically like if we can make them say that, it makes it easier for us. But did he end up ghostwriting or
Um, yeah. So interestingly enough, he didn't end up becoming a ghostwriter. However, and this is the thing, and I spotted this early on and I spotted this with like both of these guys, Gage and Anselmo. I I could just tell by what they were telling me. It's like, I don't know, man. It kind of seems like you actually want to be a remote closer based on what you're telling me, right? And so I that's what I gathered for both of them. And then that's actually why, and they both had this like corporate sales background. So I
right?
was like, and both of these guys had that same thing, both from corporate sales, and both had an interest in remote closing, but had somehow come into this ghostwriting program. So I spotted that in both of them. Then I like intro like I'm like, we the three of us got to hop on a call. You guys need to meet each other, right? So I was like the connector in that moment, in that scenario. Got both of them on a call. We pretty much all just hit it off like right off the bat. We all became friends just from Zoom calls. Um, and and yeah, both Anselmo and Gage went on to become remote closers. Like that's what both of them are doing right now. And Gage has definitely had Gage has definitely had months over 10K. I think actually he's definitely had months where he's done like 15K. He may have had even a 20K a month. And in Selmo, I know for sure is like doing consistent. I think he's doing like consistent 15K or more months. The last I heard. So
Awesome. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's interesting too because like I remember I met Ahad and we both know Ahad, the guy that's like vibe coding like projects for people. He came into Growth Ghost, but he also went to Tim Denning's thing. So it's interesting like how I've noticed a pattern too. Some of these people like Ahad, the people that love consuming information, they'll just go pay like all the different people to go learn all their tactics and then like roll it. But it's interesting because it just shows too that there's like people are like wanting to be like a part of the, like even like I'm not like necessarily ghost writing for a living either, but like I still want to be around other writers. So I'm just noticing another pattern of like community and people wanting to be around other people doing things and not necessarily even that thing, which is interesting because like, I mean, it seems like people will go join a ghostwriting program that are not even ghostwriters. Just you wouldn't think that to be the case.
yeah, but there's so much. Yeah, there's so much you can borrow from different programs, right? Like
Right.
I in 2025, I actually invested more in coaching than I ever had prior. And I mean, man, like it was a lot of money. It was a lot of money. But I also made more money in 2025 than ever before, right? It which also says quite a lot about coaching and mentorship. Um, but yeah, there's a lot you can get from like, say you are some sales guy, but you join some writing program, you know, that could help you in a lot of ways, right? Like if there's any sort of like lead generation aspect of what you're doing, like you're sending emails, or maybe you're writing content or something for your personal brand to land a sales role, that kind of thing. But yeah, it worked out really well for Anselmo and Gage because yeah, it also helped with networking. Like it helped them to meet people that then introduce them to people, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I I- I'm a big fan of mentoring and coaching too, because I've learned so much from being in the program with Dakota and you guys. And it's interesting because I feel like it just makes it a lot easier to learn from people when you're learning from people that are kind of doing the same thing.
yeah, yeah, 100%. I'm just gonna tell
Yeah.
you right now because my phone is about to die soon,
Okay, got it.
so we might have to keep this one a little bit shorter.
Yeah, cool.
But
We can
it's been
wrap
a
it up
good
right
one
now.
anyway.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
I guess we could just wrap it up. Yeah.
yeah. So
Um.
closing thoughts. I know we're the second of the year, so I mean we're right at the start of the year. A lot
hmm,
of big things could happen.
Closing thoughts. I don't know. Like I actually I wrote a post about how I'm not the biggest New Year's resolution guy, but with that said, right, definitely I I set goals, right? It's just that I just don't call it a New Year's resolution. I think that's what it is for me. Is because this mentality of I just don't need like January 1st to start a goal, right? Like so with like writing my fiction novel that I'm doing now, I didn't wait to January 1st to start writing that. I think I probably just started writing it on a random Tuesday back in like November, right?
Right.
So yeah. But yeah, no, like set your goals in that and I hope everyone has an awesome 2026.
Yeah, it's interesting. My last thought is like I was kind of pumped for us too because like we planned this already like last week and like we're already right first live January 2nd just because we're just already in the game. We're like kind of like what you were saying earlier. We're not like thinking about we're just doing our work or whatever and it just happens to the date happens to be the date. So like I agree with you. Like just do cool shit and like and then just come back and talk about it. But yeah, man, I'll set up the next one for next Friday and then hope everyone has a good weekend. Happy New Year.
Sweet. Yeah, thanks for everybody who showed up. See you guys. Bye.
Later.